Review score day. I'm going to do it. I'm going to release myself to what the general score has been for 16. I have no clue. It could honestly be review bombed at 6.2. It could have gone the God of War Ragnarok style, been higher, and then because of sweaty individuals being collapsed, it could be at 9, 7, 3. I mean, I swear, if it's less than a 3, I lose faith in humanity. Actually, if it gets less than a 7, I think 7 is my cutoff point for faith in humanity. Let's do it, guys. We're going to navigate this with style and grace. Of course, navigating the intricacies of not getting spoiled. I'm not going to try to go too deep. See, what do I expect it's got and what do I think it should get? So I expect it's got low 8s. Low 8s. I feel like with the departure from the norms, there's plenty of sweaty Final Fantasy fans who can pick holes in Final Fantasy. The ones who are still like living in some sort of groove of what Final Fantasy is, even though the series hasn't adhered to any of those rules for nigh on, I'd say, a decade, potentially even 2 decades at this point. So you're still living in some bubble of what an FF is. So there's going to be plenty of that. Just generally, the gaming culture, which is petulant and bullshit as a whole, just filled with bad takes. People who even want another game to get better accolades. Like, you saw, what was it, the Genshin Impact and the Sonic fans, they just wrecked on each other's games. Because I want my game to be more recognised than the other one. Between like God of War and Elden Ring, the battle that went on there, review bombing each other. So once you mix in all of that nonsense and then put in some legitimate criticisms for 16, I'm pretty sweaty for this game. I'm a real fanboy of it. But I can recognise areas where it dropped its pacing, it didn't structure itself that well. I definitely feel with side quests, I've really had time to reflect on this. I feel like the side quests in this game are potentially the biggest letdown, and yet also not. And what I mean by that is some of the side questing here is bullshit. Like there's some point you haven't just wanted to like donk her on their head. I mean, Bree wants to go a bit further. She probably wants to cave her skull in. Not that far, not that extreme.
She's still Sid's daughter.
She's still Sid's daughter. Yeah, you respect her just because she's Sid's offspring.
She annoys the shit out of me.
She annoys the shit out of you.
But I would never kill Sid's daughter.
No. Yeah, and I think that once you throw in some of those elements with the side questing, very MMO-esque, very fetch questy, go to this area, kill some wasp, hunt this guy, go find a bottle of wine, and go speak to this guy about the wine, and this guy, and I've spoken to 6 people about a bottle of wine. And I do recognise with side quests that they're supposed to be a break from the intensity, and I think that there's definitely been parts of this that I've really appreciated, side quest wise, because of the ones that add value. But I feel too much that the things that have added value with the side quests, they've been very much the angsty ones. Other than the Jill and Clive by the lake moment, which was very nice, the rest of them is kind of slavery, dark shit, Chloe, what happened to my Chloe, like really, really heavy stuff. And I generally feel like this game even could have done the side quests where it is a tonality break. I feel like they were in this weird position where they didn't want a tone break. So then, okay, so then you double down into adding context to the world. Oh, this is the slavery, this is the subjugation that's going on, the injustices, the dark stuff. But even say with the cosmogony, I just spoke to a historian. He didn't really add anything to the cosmogony. So I feel the value is kind of half-assed, and just what I appreciated with side quests in Final Fantasy. I appreciated when Final Fantasy would add value in a number of ways. I feel like that's what 16 has mostly missed. Back in previous FFs, where it was collecting a piece of material or putting your character in some like weird, wacky, zany scenario, I kind of would have liked it with Clive. I don't know, meet a traveling troupe of like theatre people like Clive, because as a kid, he really practiced like that scenario with Byron. Stick Clive on fucking stage. Stick him on stage, have him do some wacky stuff. Or even like, where's the mini games, yo? Because I feel like the collectibles in Final Fantasy, there's not really much of them. Do half of you know what the fuck's going in the inventory half the time? I ain't got a goddamn clue. And I feel like I would have appreciated some mini games in there. What's wrong with having Clive do a bit of skip rope.
A lot of things.
Something in a different departure I would have liked with the side questing. And especially what then offsets it with me is when we do go into the story segments and they are just bombarded, like 4 built up plot elements just getting dropped on you. Like I said in the last stream, I actually kind of like it. Where your brain is just, I'm already fucked, Square. I need to process. And then they just layer in something else. And yeah, do I think some of those areas, like Annabella's treachery and Clive and Joshua's reunion, and Dion's sort of breaking down of his nation and the falsehood in it, could they have had those their individual sections a bit more spaced out? I mean, they could either be back to back, but just a bit more fleshing, less engineering section. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. What's that, Bree?
Somebody said no fishing.
No, there's no fishing.
I like but
There's no fishing. It's a crime. I hate fishing in every RPG. I do, down to the bones.
I love fishing.
But you love fishing.
I really
Where
do.
are we on fishing, guys?
I do.
Chocobo cockfighting. Exactly that.
They might as well. You have us killing them.
We do have us killing them. And at the end of the day, if you could have, with Clive, like trained a little battle cock, like giving it like little statistics, and then like sent it into the ring and having like, maybe like there needs to be some more side questing which adds other value other than just people speaking at you. I feel I enjoy fishing. How many of you played Monsters of the Derp? You never played it, did you? You did have a VR headset, yeah. I have a mix of like genuine criticisms. I've said it about the combat. I think, besides the paper tissue mobs and the general not the right scaling, not the right difficulty modes, I'm like 70% through the game, maybe not as much as that 60. I still feel like what I said in the demo is absolutely valid. I feel the same. Now, I ain't gonna review bomb it, and quite frankly, I expect a lot of review bombing in this department because people aren't adapting their own playstyles to the game. I feel like that's gonna be a bullshit layer of reviews I'm gonna see. And you guys have made it clear to me there's people who are bombing it for those reasons, and they're still using all accessories, all potions, all everything in the game offers you in terms of survivability. It's kind of on you at that point. And I say that kind of half-assedly because I also do agree you shouldn't have to handicap yourself in a game for a challenge. I would also now add the criticism, and this is just purely a personal one, some of these later iconic abilities I haven't enjoyed so much. Maybe that's going to something that's changed once I switch up my player style and whatnot. I just feel like we started with the best icons and they've got less and less. I feel like some of the abilities, considering we don't have many of them and the spacing between getting them, it really is going to add a rejuvenation to the combat system. I love this combat system through and through. It's like one of my favorites at this point. But would I have liked to have had abilities that come later, this much later, and genuinely invigorate the combat? Like that Bahamut like little drone thing that just adds a second. That's a bullshit lazy ability. That is such a lazy inclusion, in my opinion. I really think with this game, you got dig a bit deeper than just a turret. But maybe I'm seeing that wrong because Bahamut might genuinely offer a ranged combat that you might need in certain bosses. That's going to offset against what bosses we have in the game. And that's my other kind of criticism, especially with side quests and bosses. In old Final Fantasy, the cool part of it is you could come across Gilgamesh, Ultros, I don't know, the Major Sisters, these really cool, awesome, and some of the side questing in this has offered you that, but by and large, what I found the side quest done, it just serves you up a boss that you've already fought 2-3 times, or it serves you up a boss that you're about to fight. Like that's the part that really pissed me off, is that before we went to, was it the Ironblood Kingdom? It might have been somewhere else, and there was like an assassin dude, and they put the boss that was in the story section in the side quest before. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You've literally just ruined us a main quest boss because you served up in the side quest. So I think that's pretty lazy, and I don't like that. Outside of that, the praises that I would sing to this game, the characters, the tone, the emotion, the incredible cutscenes. I mean, the faces, the expression, the lip syncing, all of that, it's above and beyond. Like beyond perfect to me. The amount of double language there is going on, there's not just what they're saying, there's what their eyes are doing, their lips are doing, their mouth are doing, and it is just adding like an immersion that I've never had in a video game before. Body language. It's a big part of language, and we've not had that massively in Final Fantasy. Now, of course, does some of the quality of that drop in some side quests that you can kind of tell they've shoehorned in, and it looks very jarring because it's still not bad. Even like the side quest dialogue is still good. It's still, you know, all the voice actors. And you do get a couple of derpers, but you can tell where it drops, and that is just because it stands out so much against the top tier quality that you get in the cutscenes. So you really feel that. Pez, if you satellite with Wings of Light, it gets better. Yeah, I mean, that's one area where I'm kind of being very hesitant to criticize the certain abilities because they do have nuances. A lot of the abilities have a lot of nuances. And while I'm in a particular groove of like air juggle or stagger focused, I recognize there's a lot of abilities I've not played the full weight off. The intricacies of, you know, whether it's a counter, whether you use it in air, whether you use it. The toilet isn't flushing. Breeze, block the toilet.
It's just, I pushed the button and don't go down.
Oh no, we need the toilet to work so I can flush all these doo-doo reviews that I'm about to see. Yeah, before I do that, I'm just gonna take a review I posted out on Twitter. This one, I knew that Final Fantasy had been plagued with this convoluted, too long. You've never really played an RPG in your life, but I thought the general gaming world had moved out of this. What with the popular rise of RPGs as a whole, especially Japanese storytelling, Asian storytelling as a whole, and aesthetic, I thought people had got better. We weren't at the stage of convoluted. It's convoluted. It's too hard to understand. The game goes on for too long. This nonsense is exactly why 15, shall I say, had its story simplified. So it could be simple and simplistically presented. That's what happened. Because Westerners and fucking TikTok degenerate brain that has just reduced everyone's attention span to...
I fixed the toilet.
You fixed the toilet.
I fixed the toilet. Aren't I just such a house husband?
Yeah, all those years of janitorial skills have come back.
I fixed the toilet.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm the best.
But yeah, this review, man, like holy nip nips. Where's the main part of it? Well, I'm starting with, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, this is a bit of a problem because the change of setting and tone is one thing, but making the gameplay completely different as well is getting to a point where you question why the game is called Final Fantasy at all. It doesn't make me question that. No. Have you questioned, why is this a Final Fantasy? That's not a Final Fantasy. Have you ever had that question come up? Have you guys had
I've
it?
heard people say it quite often throughout the history of life. It's like...
I've played most every Final Fantasy, and this feels Final Fantasy classic.
The most Final Fantasy
down
Final Fantasy
to, yeah, not just the things that included in the story, the exploration into the characters, the general themes that are presented in it, not just the creatures, and the aesthetic is absolutely Final Fantasy and high fantasy, but even just the music. The music has felt more like Final Fantasy to me than most soundtracks for a long time. If you can't really pick out and identify the attention to detail that makes this feel like a Final Fantasy, I feel bad for you. I don't know what a Final Fantasy is to you at this point. I really don't. And why you're not getting that feeling, but I get that feeling through and through. But yeah, they say if it wasn't for chocobos and all the talk about crystals, it would be absolutely unrecognizable as part of the series. Couldn't disagree more, man. But it was this part here, man. The other problem is that it's just too long. What? You haven't played a Final Fantasy, man? I could pull it up. I should have pulled up the length of Final Fantasies. 15 was one of the shortest. I think it was one of the shortest alongside.
That was one of people's biggest complaints.
It kind of surprised me. I think 4 was listed as pretty short on its overall playtime. It didn't feel that way to me, but I know that it was differentiating between mainline stuff and side story stuff. I mean, generally.
If you do everything,
a perfect main line to me, it is 40 to 50 hour, no main stuff, extended from at least 70 with side stuff. But shit, man, side stuff in the old Final Fantasies could put you up to 200 hours plus, brother. Like, at the end of the day, this game is not too long. That is just some grade A bullshit. For this series, for RPGs, JRPGs, no, man. But a lot has been written about how confusing the plot is. I love it. I like being confused. I miss the days where Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy plots, you had to sit, you had to think, you had to process, you had to connect dots, you had to engage with it. We have got so fucking lazy as a gaming culture, man. Like back in the day, we had to read the text. We had to insert the characters. We had to use our imaginations to create the emotions, how that was said, how that, like the level of us engaging to make the thing magical was a very high bar. That bar is so much fucking lower now. And yet lowering that bar, it hasn't done anything to activate our imaginations. All it's done is fucking pacified any people's need to engage with it, think with it. There's obviously a lot of questions that are hanging, and of course I've not finished the game, so I can't really fully comment on this point about it being a confusing plot, because yeah, I don't know what's going to be happening towards the end, these big questions, how they're going to be answered, if there's going to be open-ended stuff, if this is going to do the old general leaving things open to interpretation. They might be doing some of that, so I can't massively comment on it, but so far I feel like the game has presented everything kind of mysteriously, but not in a way that I'm just like losing the thread with everything. Quite the opposite. Me and Brie, we've been having like crazy deep chats, haven't we? Like linking all kinds of threads, like, oh my god, they put this here, oh, and now I see why they've done that. And like if you actually just take a moment to fucking think about it, you see the logic of the game. You can easily get immersed in this story. That's a your brain thing, is what I'm getting at. That's your brain, sir. I don't know who the fuck wrote this, but your brain is broken. It just is. Because yeah, it goes on for so long, on and on, without end. For 60 hours or so, I just don't see how anyone can stay invested in a story for that long. So I mean, that's just a blanket statement at that point. I mean, they're going to say it, especially one with such mediocre characters and writing as this. Tez want to smash at that comment.
Careful now.
Yeah, mediocre characters.
That's the dumbest thing.
What the hell are you saying, man? These are some of the best, most well-written, most nuanced. They're not even three-dimensional characters. They are, like I said before, they're four-dimensional. This is the first Final Fantasy, one of the first games. I don't feel like I'm just, we're not just dealing with basic character traits, which I think, honestly, Final Fantasy started becoming 3D at around about FF7 and beyond. Multiple aspects of a person. Their flaws, their shittier sides. We're not just having our video game characters be righteous heroes. We're in 3D back in the 90s. This is going 4D, man. I say like Final Fantasy 15 started being 4D, like where you could start seeing into the soul of a character. And that's a very like strange thing to say. But I feel like you can see into the soul of the person before you even hear anything about them, before you know much about them. Now, the bros and the 15 characters, there were so few of those. Only with the bros could you really see into their soul.
And even then, I think that's why they got so much flack for the characters. That's why so many people got so upset about 15's characters. Why I've seen so many people say that they like straight up hate Gladio or hate this person or that person. It's like, you can't really blame them because you can't hide behind people's imaginations anymore. They're showing it like it is.
That's true. The characters are more who they are, not who you are imagining and making them to be.
How you're imagining them to talk or what you're imagining
very
that
true.
to mean. It's like, that puts a lot of pressure on the developers of like, okay, you've got to put in all this work.
All this work, yeah. And that's I totally
had issues with.
I totally agree. And I think, the characters are more defined. I think 15 started going down that 4D route, but 16 is fully there. It's fully there. I look at Dion, and before he said a goddamn word, my brain is like, oh, gee, this guy. Like, just looking into his eyes, looking into... That sounds very romantical. Just in an instant, knowing what these characters are like. And to say that that equals bad characters, that honestly blows my freaking noodle, man. That blows my brain. But yeah, also writing as this, terrible writing as this. I think the writing has been mature, complex. I think it has, there's no part, see what makes good writing for me is when the reactions or the actions that are taken from the events that are going on match with the severity of what's happening. And there has been no moment in 16 where I'm like, damn, that seemed like a pretty lackluster response, or that nation's response seemed kind of weird. Like the only moment I had that was like whether Dion was going to take action, and he took freaking action. Clive and Joshua's reunion, like the emotion of it. Clive's entire life being a freaking slave for like 13 years, it has matched that severity. Nothing has felt glossed over. Nothing has felt like half-assed where they're writing something really, really dark and then nothing else really matches it. And that's the writing. That's the writing that has done that. Could not disagree more. Bunch of nonsense, really. I ain't even read the rest of this. Now for a good review very quickly. Final Fantasy 16 review. Bloody brilliant. You could tell a British person wrote that. Bloody brilliant.
Bloody.
Final Fantasy 16 marks a decisive break from the franchise. How will the fans respond? I'm going to find out for the first time. But yeah, they just kind of summarize the plot. This is the jaw-dropper of a game, a powerhouse of imagery and fidelity that queues up shockingly impressive cutscenes, but is just as ready to amaze you with actual gameplay moments, from the stunning particle effects of a screen-filling spell to the incredible scale of its biggest monsters and battles. It feels like the most polished and visually stunning game the series has seen yet. And that's some going. For sure. For sure. And that's why even some of the bullshitty side quest stuff that I have big criticisms with, a lot of that is offset just because the game is so stunning, the world is rich. I'm not under the Dust Sky effect. I don't know if you guys actually felt the Dust Sky effect. Like 15 was obviously very beautiful, but damn did that Dust Sky effect kick in. It's like a lot of the same color, a lot of the same shades, just open swathes of land that don't feel rich and intriguing. I'm not hitting those awe moments. Now 16 has areas that are one tone, but between the detail and world building as a whole, I've been immersed and just in love with walking through this world from start to finish. That's honestly like never really dropped. I don't think in a single region. I'm trying to think of an area I might not have liked.
I can think of a couple.
Like maybe sometimes
some places in
when you go into like those ship areas. I mean, Dalmec when you're going across the sands is
but
like.
That's just a personal thing. I don't
Yeah.
really like desert areas, but even
I don't really like desert
there were
areas.
some of them that they made pretty cool.
Yeah.
Some areas of it, but I mean.
Yeah. Other than that.
You can only make a desert so nice.
Yeah, but like hopping through the bazaars and just the general populace that is around, and yeah, sometimes they're annoying, like when they're shouting shit at you. Salted fish! Get your fish salted and smoked! Peaches! Get your peaches! You got some hoes saying stuff, but even that, like, I'm actually kind of enjoying all of that. So, but yeah, character models are outrageously detailed. It's a perfect word for it. Outrageous. It's bleeding outrageous. It really is. In story scenes, they lip sync perfectly and emote flawlessly. This does drop to a level, yep, side quest givers. And as mentioned above, the whole cast is absolutely gunning it with their performances. Hell yeah. Every main character in this kind of deserves an award for voice acting. Like, at Game of the Year, Game of the Year awards, is there a voice acting category? Kratos got it. Kratos got it, yeah. For sure. If Ben ain't getting it...
I think they have a couple of different voice acting categories. They have like...
Ben has to get it.
Best like male, I think they have best supporting actor or whatever.
Yeah.
They have things like that, yeah.
Yeah. Before I carry on further and actually drop into the views now, without spoilers, guys, what do you think about all of that? But I mean, actually, go on, give us your review scores for the game, guys. And maybe a small detail of either criticism or something you really, really love. But no spoilers. FF16 is top FF. Absolutely. I feel really happy with this game. I feel really proud of this game. You know, if I had to try to give my own personal subjective and objective score, which I don't know why I do this, it feels horrible to give your subjective score because then people play that as if you're not aware of the flaws. But for me, it's very simple. Like the flaw with the side questing, I offset it for this reason, this reason. Well, the voice acting is still great. The world is still really beautiful and immersive. And actually that welcome release that leads to really compact, crazy moments. So like subjectively, like it offsets some of my objective criticisms. And that's why, yeah, no game is perfect. Exactly that. No game is perfect. So my subjective score, honestly, for the level of enjoyment that I've had and how I feel about this Final Fantasy as a whole, I've got to be like mid-9s. Mid-9s, low-9s, you know, seeing how it goes from here, 9.1, 9.3.
I was thinking 9.1.
Something around that area. You know, if I had to be objective, where you know I'm putting on that lens of critical,
Even
and
then, 8 point something.
even then it's mid-8s still. That's how I feel. F7 has the best cast. Strong. Do I agree with that? I think I agree with that. Yeah. I think what makes those 7 characters so great is because you see such jarring at times, but just crazy like dynamics. You know, you see Cloud dressed as a woman at one point. You see Cloud being really derpy. You see Cloud being really serious. You see him being really emotional. Barrett, like the emotional changes that he goes through, and I feel like it worked with those things. I think Remake is still making it work. I feel like, yeah, if Clive in this or Jill, you suddenly saw Jill being really fucking derpy at some point. We had to go on a ship mission. She was dressed up as Captain Winkleberg with a mustache, them in little like sailor suits and shit. Like, would it be too jarring with the degree of realism that they have tried to
don't make it that silly. They couldn't make it that silly.
They couldn't make it that silly.
However,
but could they have pushed the boat of silliness a bit?
Made it a little bit more.
Do you think so, guys?
I feel like whenever Jill was like really hungry.
When Jill was hungry, yeah, little moments like that.
Uncle.
Yeah.
Like it is there. The whimsicalness is there, but I feel like if they put it in areas where people are complaining about those areas, like having fetch side quests in the main quest, if you would have made those things a little bit more funny or lighthearted, just to a little bit of a degree.
A little bit more of a degree, because what I would honestly say is it wouldn't actually feel jarring with Clive's personality, because the truth is, I can see in Clive there is that kind of guy in there. He's a little bit of a silly guy. He has a very human, down-to-earth nature. You see the way he kind of smiles or react to things, but it's always kept very much on the elusive. And then you get Gruff Clive come back out. Yeah. You know, go find your guy. And it's like, that is something that Clive has developed, you know, being in the situations that he's been in. And I feel like some of these scenarios, whenever we have seen that other side of Clive, it's always played really, really well. So I don't think seeing more of that would have in any way been like, well, that's just like odd and out of place. Yeah, I don't feel that.
Because Final Fantasy VII, it was out of place sometimes. Let's be real. Oh, Aerith died. Let's go snowboarding.
Snowboarding after Aerith's death was
it felt wrong for everybody, and I feel like people who defend that have their nostalgia glasses on.
I remember leading up to the Aerith's arc, like, I had to go to school the next day. I had grandparents who would come in and like be like, switch the TV off. Yeah. So I would like hide my blanket over the TV. And just like
that's gonna do anything.
We was building up the Aerith stuff, so it's like 1 in the morning. I got to be up for school. They've already come in like 2 times. I'm like, I am not leaving this here. Yeah. So I'm just there, and I'm just like fucking crying under my blanket, under my little thing, just trying not to have my grandparents hear my tears. And then obviously after it's done, I'm just like, okay, I need to pause. So for some people, I imagine you went. Did you have like no break between Aerith's death and the snowboarding? You played straight through. See, for me, I had the break of going to school, and I came back and I was like, oh my god, how are the crew going to be acting this? How are we going to be doing this? I was just like, wait, what? Let me just check my save. Have I skipped ahead?
Yeah, did I glitch out? Did I load up like my brother's save file or something? What have I done? What's going on? Yeah. It's just, it felt so wrong.
But you know what? Sometimes those little jarring shifts are also welcome in some areas.
Yeah, it depends.
9, 8.5, 8. Okay, that's anywhere between 8 and 9.5 is where you guys are largely sitting. It is time. Should we start with Metacritic? Oh my gosh, here we go. Oh my lord. All right, Let's go. Yeah. What has it got? Lay it on me. 8.2, let's go. Happy with that. Faith in humanity still exists. Yeah. All right, guys. 87 from the views. That's nice. That's nice. How many reviews? 6,500. Okay. Okay, I can be okay with that. You know, I feel like that is leaning more, yeah, on the lower end. That's kind of my, slightly even below my objective. So of course I'm looking at it, I'm not like, oh yeah, I totally agree with that. For me personally, subjectively, it's way more. But okay. You must play 16. It is the most goddest game. I may be a die-hard classic Final Fantasy fan, but there's no getting past the fact that this game, with all its high-octane DMC-inspired action, is an absolute phenomenal example of RPG craftsmanship. Overall, the series needed with unparalleled quality, driven by a fantastic story and charismatic characters, built on accessible, exciting gameplay and impressive graphics. It is a weirdo black sheep entry for the series. It won't be for all fans, necessarily, but I love it for its boldness. Very much my overall feeling. They've not played it safe. And wow, what's the 0? Phenomenal combat, amazing boss fights, story had me in tears by the ending. Fucking amazing game, probably. 0 out of 10. Zeltor, man, get your shit together. You've missed a 1 at the start of your score, bro. Excellent entry in the series with a gripping story, thrilling combat. Alright, so no professional reviewer is giving it a 0. Let's see what...
Be careful.
Let's see what the lowest is. Oh god, Eurogamer, you wankers. Those wankers. A smart combat system straining under the weight of a characterful but ponderous pseudo-medieval soap opera with some of the grandest bosses and dullest side quests in FF history. Ooh, Eurogamer. That's a ouchie. Come on, man. Like, you've just... What do they mean by ponderous pseudo-medieval soap opera? What does that even mean? You add all of what you think sounds like smart sounding criticism, but that's just so amorphous, ambiguous, that just sounds like some really pompous bullshit, what you're saying. Shallow RPG hooks and dated design leave a promising evolution for the series stuck in the past. Dated design. Dated. Are you talking because the game is set in medieval times? It's dated? Like, what are you saying? What is dated here? Obviously you can't be talking about the graphical fidelity because this is absolutely pushing it. I mean, PS5s are melting, man. It's literally running the hardware as hard as it can go. Brie had her first overheat yesterday. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let me process that. 8.2. Spoilers, Pez. I haven't seen any yet. All right, anyway, I'm going to jump off Metacritic. Let's go. Eurogamer and Kotaku accuse Final Fantasy 16 is overwhelming whiteness. Not even getting into that. Already given my POV on that. What we got here? 4.1 Open Critic, 88%, 9 out of 10 IGN, 10 out of 10 Pocket Init. Screen Rant 10, Dixo 10, 9 IGN, Game Informer, RPG Site. Shaq, Siliconera 8, Eurogamer 7, well played. I mean, okay. These are the only sites now that I'm in my good graces. I hate the rest of you. Gaming Trend 100, Digital Trends, Gaming Bolt 10. Wow. Oh, Easy Allies 9, GameSpot 9. That is strong. That's great. That is a good looking board of scores. Obviously, you've got a few outlier shitters in there. Why is Kotaku not on here? I guess even sites like this have just cast Kotaku into the depths of irrelevancy. This brings me great joy, guys, in all honesty. I like these scores. Yeah, just generally because the way I interpret review scores now is once you flush out all the nonsense that goes on, that generally gamers have become far more picky, critical. We live in an age where people's hormones are literally broken. Oh, yeah. Like, they cannot get the same levels of joy from games, like on a physiological level. Just general internet culture being as degenerate as it is. When I see a score, usually add a 1 to it. An 8 out of 10 could well be like a 9 out of 10.
Sometimes add
Sometimes I had 3.
Because
but
a lot of people, it's like they have one thing that kind of annoys you, and they say the whole game's terrible because of that. They don't get any kind of
I just generally feel versus like the 90s and the early days, like what would be a 7 or an 8 has shifted. I feel like it works on the inverse as well. Sometimes really trash games are just absolutely trash and insidious, kind of get higher scores as well. So I think generally I'm just saying that there's more of a polarization with everything. Final Fantasy 16 review score. Torgal is the goodest boy. Holds a 7.4 user score. This game ain't a 7, man. Just ain't a 7. Some of these reviews have a point. They just don't like the core descriptions, so it seems like they're trolling, but with more description. The reviews are legit. I mean, I'll obviously be able to feel within myself how legit they are by the time I've finished. I do generally think, no, the end part, the end sequence of the game is very, very important. The opening and the ends are the chorus parts. I actually kind of had a criticism with the opening of 16. It obviously opened great with the Ifrit Phoenix section, but then they replayed it.
Yeah.
They replayed it. Cool last cutscene was my favourite kind of opening. But I mean, still, what happened in those first 2 hours was pretty jam-packed, pretty punchy. So it still had a good opening, but I would have criticisms with it. And then the ending, obviously, I've not got there. So a game has to leave off like that. Last impression, that last resolution to things is very, very key. And I feel like that was actually what KH3 did. It ended strong. It ended mad strong, but expected just ending strong to make up for sort of the slower regions everywhere else. It kind of did to a degree, but not fully. I know some people don't like older Clive design, which was shocking to me. His design! Who don't like the Drip King? What's wrong with you? Dated, they mean, is designed much like 14. Has been for many years, plays quite similarly to an expansion. I mean, that is one area that people, if you hate MMOs, if you've not played 14, if you've not adjusted to that format at all, you're going to feel some of these areas. It's an MMO team, of course it is. Seen in reviews, less than out of 10 reads as bad faith. 7 is trash. That's generally why I say about reviews not seeming like they're where they are. Like 7 is still supposed to be a good, I guess, ish kind of, but we do perceive it as like trash.
It's supposed to be good. It's
like 7 is supposed to be. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I feel pleased, guys. There was an honest side to me that I thought I would come in and I'd be crushed. Wow, we're 52 minutes into stream. Let's get on with the stream. Thank you so much for not spoiling. Did anyone point out that 8.2 Metacritic is a recovery from a 6.0 review bombing? Wait. Did that happen? Hold up. FF16 review bombing. Did that go down? Ooh. Oh, it did have the God of War Ragnarok treatment on it. So that 8.2 is coming from a bombing. So Final Fantasy 16 is currently being review bombed with its overall user score sitting at 6.8. What? Really? Like what? Oh God, what is this review bombing bullshit? I know with God of War Ragnarok because it was salty bitches who want some other game to get recognised. What is it, like the Diablo 4, the Street Fighter guys? Because yeah, 16 is kind of topping on the charts. A lot of people are posting it out being like, see, 16 is a phenomenal success. It's hitting the top of the charts, Sony was saying. But that was for June. You know, the game has come out, and so had those other ones. I think it was just slightly below Diablo 4, but it was voted, I think, best game or most well-received game by the audience as a large. But obviously, that's just in June. I want to see some longevity sales and longevity reviews, but wow, what happened here? It's the exclusivity. I fucking knew it. PC Master Race being pissy about it. And the Xbox boys. I mean, what? Don't really blame them too much. I do blame them. Fuck you, get a PS5. I don't give a shit. Screw you.
It's not that easy.
Final Fantasy and PlayStation has always been
I don't think
been
it's a
this.
good reason to review bomb, but I do think
it's not a good.
It's reasonable to be upset.
It's reasonable to be like, I want this game to come
Especially for
out.
PC
But to go
gamers.
and review bomb it, that's not justified.
It's never a good. It's never a good.
And how do you get that feeling? It's like, I want to play this game so much. I'm gonna go out and actively hurt it.
I mean, it's a valid criticism that it is exclusive.
Can this thing even run on Xbox? Would it even be possible? I know nothing about Xbox hardware.
I mean, Xbox people can't complain about exclusivity.
Yeah, Xbox people can't complain.
The same thing. I feel for the PC gamers. I feel bad for them.
But the PC gamers, bros, it's gonna be like 15. You know, you'll get it later.
Yeah, but
you'll get it later, and you'll get it later with extra bells and whistles, bros.
You gotta understand. You get it later. It's a lot later. Spoilers are already out there. PC gamers are very much on the internet. It's pretty much impossible, you know, especially if you're somebody where you put all your money into your PC. You don't have the money to just get a PS5.
Yeah.
You know, it does suck.
Yeah, it sucks. But buy a PS5, you broke ass bitch. I know that's toxic. That's very privileged. I know. I'm being facetious. Let me just zoom this camera in a little bit. But the PC gamers, bros, it's gonna be like 15. You know, you'll get it later.
Yeah, but
you'll get it later, and you'll get it later with extra bells and whistles, bros.
You gotta understand. You get it later. It's a lot later. Spoilers are already out there. PC gamers are very much on the internet.
Oh right, yeah, of course. Zelda fans also be part of that review bombing activity. Yeah, I mean for sure. They want Game of the Year. And bros, you've got 10 million sales. You've got 10 million plus players on it. You're gonna get Game of the Year regardless, just on sheer numbers. You don't need to go and review bomb the game. Privileged Brit Pez is. Man, I ain't privileged. You know how hard I had to hustle to get a PS5? Anyone who's got a PS5, we've all been through hell.
Hell.
We've all walked the coals, but we did the work. And this is our fucking reward. Let us have our reward. But damn, that adds a lot of extra context. That 16 has come down, up from such a huge dip. And that's why I factored in what I thought the game would get. Add in nefarious, disingenuous bullshit. Low 8s. I said it right. That's what I thought. Low 8s. Factor in the petulance of the internet. I was on a waiting list for like 3 months to get my PS5. I had to get a bundle I didn't want. A big old PS5 bundle that was bare pricey.
No disc version.
You had to get the no disc version. Oh, that's sad.
Because it was all I could get. I was so desperate.
Thank you guys. Thank you for sitting through that. That was enjoyable for me.
Bye.
Bye.